Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for being here today. And don't worry, you're not in the wrong place. This isn't the Provost Town Hall. We'll do that. We'll do that in January or February. This is the President's Annual Address. And I'm Anna Marie Kause, and I'm the Provost. And my job here today is to welcome President Michael Young. And it is the easiest job that I'm going to have all year. But before I introduce President Young, let's take a few minutes to watch some highlights of what, by working together, we've been able to accomplish here this year. Let's go.
"2011 marked a special year for the UW. It was our 150th anniversary. As the year-long celebration unfolded, students and faculty made significant strides in research and innovation while earning accolades and top rankings locally and internationally. Once again, Shanghai Jiao Tong University ranked the UW 16th best university in the world. And the Times of London placed the UW 5th among American public universities. 12 graduate programs ranked among the nation's top 10 for 2013, according to U.S. News and World Report, including a #1 ranking for the School of Medicine and its primary care program. Our efforts around sustainability did not go unnoticed as the UW was named #1 cool school by Sierra Magazine. No doubt the construction of 4 new residence halls in the West Campus, all targeted to achieve a minimum LEED Silver rating, helped us achieve that ranking. This year's freshman class was our most academically accomplished and diverse class to date. 2 UW seniors, Cameron Turtle and Byron Gray, were named Rhodes Scholars. The UW was the only public university in the nation to have more than one. Over 1,000 UW undergraduates participated in our annual Undergraduate Research Symposium. Husky Olympians brought home 14 medals from the London Games, 2 gold, 8 silver, and 4 bronze. Since 1919, the UW has sent more than 120 competitors to the Olympics. And at home, the UW community, faculty, staff, and students pledged more than $2 million to support 1,500 charities in the Washington State Combined Fund Drive. Faculty also added to our 150 years of outstanding achievement. Several were elected to the prestigious National Academies. Our list of geniuses grew this year when computer science and electrical engineering assistant professor Shwetak Patel was named a MacArthur Fellow for his visionary work on human-computer interaction. And it's not just academia recognizing the groundbreaking work of our faculty. Assistant Professor of Biology Jay Parrish received the Presidential Early Career Award for scientists and engineers. While some stayed grounded on Earth, other faculty looked to the stars, helping us better understand the cosmos. Astronomy professor Erica Gall contributed to the breakthrough discovery of 2 new planets. And Anna Gossiu in physics contributed to the discovery of the Higgs boson, an elusive subatomic particle whose existence is a major step in understanding the origins of the universe. The Center for Game Science garnered national and international attention for Fold It, a massive multiplayer protein folding game. The game won Science Magazine's 9th Annual International Science and Engineering Visualization Challenge, and Seth Cooper, the chief architect of Fold It, received the Doctoral Dissertation Award from the Association for Computing Machinery. In an effort to drive local and state economy and create jobs, Fluke Hall was rededicated as the Center for Commercialization New Ventures facility to provide UW startups access to critical lab and office space. And a university-focused venture fund, the W Fund, will invest in promising startups that spin out of the university and other state research institutions. The UW also continued its focus on creating a more caring and healthy world. A newly formed partnership led by the School of Social Work is providing professional development for the state social workers involved in child welfare. And in the Department of Ophthalmology, faculty co-authored a study that showed a novel chemical temporarily restored some vision to blind mice. Looking back at the past year and the commemoration of our 150th anniversary, the UW pushed the boundaries of human potential in hundreds of ways, from science and social services to athletics and community health. What will the next 150 years hold?
Wow, is that now that's cool. And that's what we were able to do together. And even with all that's packed in, it's only a tip of the iceberg of what goes on here at the university and the work that we did in the last year. I know that you and I look forward to hearing President Michael Young's vision of the next 150. President Young.
What an amazing year, and what an extraordinary university. It has been really remarkable. And I just want to thank all of you for coming and welcome you, as well as we have colleagues in Bothell and in Tacoma who I believe are watching this, as well as people on the watching on the internet, and just welcome to everyone. Also delighted to welcome, we have special guests with us today, three of our regents, the chair, Joanne Harrell, who is with us, Regent Pat Shanahan, and student regent Chris Jordan. Delighted to welcome all three of our regents. They do an enormous amount of work on behalf of the university, and just please join me in thanking them for all they do. Thank you. I would also be remiss if I didn't welcome Mrs. Young, who has no obligation to be here, but a riveting obligation not to fall asleep, unlike the rest of you. So. I am really pleased to be here and have an opportunity to give what is the second annual address to the university community, because it sort of reminds me of the first one I gave last year. And as I was thinking about that, I realized how different it is from where I am now, at least, and I think in some ways where the university is. And I brought two visual aids to show. The first visual aid is a map, which if you all come forward and want to take a look at, you can see. What's distinctive about the map is there is a line drawn from Gerberding Hall to Kane Hall. It was done in Kane Hall last year, and the line goes right straight across Red Square, which is an indication that at that point in time, I needed a map to get across Red Square to figure out where the university was. Secondly, and this is important and this is different, great deal of what I knew about the university came from briefing books. I had not been here very long. People had kindly prepared a lot of really good books that explained the university in a lot of detail in a lot of ways that I had not understood before. Certainly knew University of Washington by reputation, but this detailed analysis was really extraordinarily helpful. Everybody who wrote, by the way, seemed to be the only people who were actually running the university, but I took that in stride. But that's what I knew about the university. And last year what I did is I promised that I would spend the year listening, talking to you, visiting. I'm a relatively quick learner, but you are gifted teachers. People would spend enormous time with me, explaining their parts of the university, explaining what our great accomplishments were, what our challenges were, what our opportunities were, what our vision ought to look like. And for that, I am very, very grateful. And much of what I talk about today really comes out of that opportunity to listen to all of you for a long period of time. And I appreciate it very much. But it's also important to realize that what I talk about today really is not a set of goals and ambitions that derive somewhere in the basement of Gerberdine Hall. These are really ideas that come from a tremendous conversation that has occurred on this campus over the past even more than a year, because certainly this started with the initiative of 2Y, 2D, 2 years to 2 decades, and while we've passed the 2 years, we haven't passed the 2 decades yet, and many of those ideas are deeply woven into what you think and understand and want to do with the university. But it is an extraordinary university. I was struck by just the sheer amount of research that goes on here. $1.5 billion. That puts us number 1 among public universities, second only to Johns Hopkins. I occasionally call John Hennessy at Stanford and tell him, you know, I could tell him how to make a better university if he just wants to talk to me about it. It's remarkable. And what's interesting about it is a number of things. One is that it's an increasing share of the research revenue that's available. 5 years ago, we had 2%. Now we have 3% of the available federal research money, a real tribute to the competitiveness and the vision and ambition of our faculty and our graduate students and all who work in these areas. But what also interests me, and I've had an opportunity to observe a lot of this firsthand, is what those dollars mean. I mean, $1.5 billion is a great bragging number, but what's extraordinary to me is what it means in really practical terms. And you saw some of that in the video. You see Fold-it and the design of that set of proteins that may help cure AIDS. You see mice, and we're giving a whole new meaning to the children's rhyme of 3 blind mice. Things that will eventually translate into differences for human beings. We look at what we have 8 federally funded national resource centers that look at comparative and international affairs and the way in which they have trained students to think about the solution to some of the really serious global challenges we have, different maybe than 20 years ago, but no less acute and no less important. They're really remarkable. But one that really brought it home to me, and again, this I promise is my last visual aid. For those of you from the law school, this is a Petri dish. And not one that I had a lot of familiarity with, but I had an opportunity to go to South Lake Union, and they were kind enough to show me the work they're doing in stem cells. And they were turning stem cells into heart cells and allowing potentially the regrowth of damaged heart tissue after a heart attack. Heart attacks are not only the leading cause of death, but among the leading causes of disability. With a weakened heart, the things that can't be done, and the human toll and the financial toll that takes is enormous. The capacity to regrow those would be truly extraordinary. And so they showed me a Petri dish with a little cluster of cells in the bottom. And you know, as a country lawyer, I could say, well, those look like cells. Congratulations. And they said, no, look at them underneath the microscope. So I took this little Petri dish with this little cluster of cells in it, put it under the microscope, and the cells were beating in that Petri dish. Most amazing thing I think I've ever seen. But that's a reflection of the kind of work that goes on here at the university. And it really is extraordinary. So as I talk today, I also talk about our students who take that kind of an educational opportunity and do some pretty remarkable things. We just saw some statistics that suggested we have the 21st highest graduation rate of all the publics in the nation. It's over 80%. That's very good. But let me give you a second statistic that puts it in some context. Washington Monthly came out with a study that actually looked at the demographics of our student body and said, in light of those demographics, this should be your graduation rate. Now, do you overperform or underperform? In terms of overperforming, what the prediction was, we are number 6 in the nation, 6th best university, which is to me really a profound indicator of the extent to which we enhance social mobility. So it isn't just that we admit people, whatever their background, in order to give them the opportunity to this education, but we give it to them and we graduate them. And that's pretty extraordinary and a real tribute to this unique university. So I want to talk a little bit about the future, but I want to stress a couple of things as I start. One is, I want to stress that the things I'm going to talk about I don't view in all the study I've done at the university as any kind of a radical departure. This university has put itself on a trajectory that has made it great. We're building on that and advancing that. We're not throwing that out and making radical transformations that cause us to do significant left turns. We're building on what has been 150 years of really remarkable development. And that's what I think we're thinking about now, is where do we deploy resources to take advantage of our strengths and those opportunities that are out there. And I'm going to make some suggestions today, although as you'll see, most of those suggestions call for even more engagement on the part of the community to achieve those. So let me start with the predicate first. And the predicate is really simple. All of this is made possible by the people who are here. So all that I talk about is predicated on the following notion. Our top priority this year, in no uncertain terms, is the retention and the fair compensation of our people here at this university. That's very tough to do in this environment, but it's something to which we're very committed. And I know all the graduate students are out there complaining, but it still remains a critical priority for us to figure out how to do it. And so that's the predicate, is all of this is made possible by the people. And so securing resources to allow us to be more fair than we've been able to be over the last 4 years is the predicate and the basis for all this. So let me turn to a couple of major themes of things that I think we ought to be thinking about here at the university. The first really has to do with what is a significant transformation in what we can do within the educational and higher education space. We've heard a lot of talk about how technology is transforming and changing things here and there, and that's important. But from our perspective, it's useful if we become more efficient. That's good, and if there's cost savings there. But that's not the primary reason, nor in my judgment, even a very important reason to do it. Rather, I think there are really three interrelated developments going on that really make this both imperative for us to do and give us a great opportunity to do it. The first is that our students are coming into the university differently prepared than they were a few decades ago. They've had the advantage of technology that has occasioned a very different way of gathering information, of processing that information, the kinds of intellectual communities they form around their information, the analytical skills they develop, and how they develop those have been significantly influenced by the technology that's been available. Now, number two, happily that very technology allows us to do some things that we have never really been able to do before in a very strong way. And we are very interested in how we use that technology to deepen the educational and the research experience that's available here. Make it more personal, make it more intense, make it more interactive, and make it more impactful and meaningful. All are things that can do. And then thirdly, the technology also allows us to think about access in a way that I think we have not thought about before. I've been thinking a lot about this recently, as there's been a great debate about the 1% and the 99%, or the 40%, 7%, or whatever numbers one picks. A lot of talk about economic differences, but there are two key elements left out of this debate. One is that it's not just about where people are, but it's about whether they can move or not. And there's some significant evidence that our class structure is more rigid than that of England. That is a damning indictment of the United States and the kind of world we need to create for a whole range of different reasons. Number two, it's often cast in money terms, and certainly that may be the manifestation of it in some ways. But the root cause is opportunity. And educational opportunity is absolutely central to that. Technology is now going to allow us to reach out in ways that haven't been possible before to lots of different communities and do different things. Now, I don't want to suggest that we're just going to start this from scratch. We actually have people who have been here at this university for a long time doing some really exceptional things. And I want to show you just a little bit, again, just the tip of the iceberg, as Anna-Maria mentioned, of some of the things that are going on. So let's take a look at some of these things, and then we'll build on that.
The University of Tomorrow is moving toward a new paradigm where innovation and technology combine with hands-on collaborative learning to give students an enhanced experience in the classroom and beyond. Learning experiences that promote critical thinking, writing and presentation skills. Experiences that allow faculty-student collaboration across the room and across the globe. and education to guide careers and spur the entrepreneurship and leadership to revolutionize our state, our nation, and our world. Already, the University of Washington is integrating new technologies, media, online, and electronic tools to flip the traditional classroom.
Flipping the classroom really means taking some work that faculty have traditionally done in face-to-face class and moving it outside the classroom. And in doing so, giving faculty the time back in class to do other things, particularly various forms of active learning.
Online resources like Canvas, Tegrity, and Coursera allow UW faculty to strengthen connections with students through technology. By holding online office hours, faculty members are accessible during more convenient times. Live chat, PowerPoint slides, and an online whiteboard enable remote and more effective interactions. Plus, sessions can be recorded and stored for future review.
Students today want a lot more information at their fingertips. So the more information they can have on a day-to-day basis about their courses, about their assignments, about their activities that they can really access and review on their own, the happier they are in being able to meet their goals.
One of the reasons that I do think you learn more in a classroom such as this is that it allows us students to go through the material at our own pace. And for me, that has been so beneficial because I can go home and in the comfort of my own home, listen to my professor, pause, take notes, go back, re-listen, think about it again, work it out on paper, and it all takes, more time, but at my own pace. And that, for me, is the style of learning where I'm going to benefit the most from it.
We're trying to honor the fact that our students are learning in new ways and including those technologies in the classroom to help them gather the information they need to understand the material.
As we focus on innovating how education is delivered through technology, we're also focused on using technology to make sure that the University of Washington is accessible to even more people. The UW recently joined in a partnership with Coursera, a massive open online course learning platform to help the UW build an informed community through higher education.
The University of Washington has been a leader in online education for over a decade. It has 17 degree programs totally online, 38 certificate programs totally online, as well as 15 free courses. And we're right at the edge of making that next big leap. Well, one of the main missions of the University of Washington as a public institution is access, and online learning creates the ability to provide broad access to a lot of people. An undergraduate degree is becoming increasingly more important, and in a few years, about 75% of the jobs are going to be jobs that need an undergraduate degree. So for reasons of economy, for reasons of social justice, for all sorts of reasons, I think the University of Washington is poised to be a national player and deliver online education to help this country.
As the world evolves and education embraces new ways to use technology to improve and expand learning, the University of Washington is well positioned to be a leader of change in public higher education. And in many ways, we already are.
What I think that video makes clear is we are not neophytes in this regard. We are in many ways on the cutting edge already for what we're doing. And it becomes important that we think about how we expand and deepen that, because the opportunities are considerable. They require a number of things. One is they require facilities. We've worked hard over the past year with the close collaboration of the student leaders to provide more connectivity for students across campus and elsewhere. We need to think about upgrades of our classrooms to permit more of this to be used. We need to think about buildings for where this is possible, and that has been been a real focus. If you look at the new molecular engineering and sciences building right behind us, which we opened this year, it is a building that is self-consciously designed for interdisciplinary collaborative work, but also self-consciously designed with the idea of all the technical innovation that we can possibly put into it to make the research and the teaching of precisely this sort. We also need to provide resources. Not every professor who wants to do this is equally equipped with an expansive knowledge of computers and how to do it. And creating platforms where we can make this more possible and get more assistance to people who want to engage in this kind of work becomes, from my judgment, very, very important. And so this is an area in which we have some concrete ideas. I've mentioned a couple. I'll mention another, which is the creation of this of some sort of center or platform that really allows us to support in a robust way this kind of work. I think those are all important. But I also add that much of this is work that comes from everyone across campus. This is a very democratic engagement with trying to do this. And so everybody's ideas and everybody's participation ultimately become important in terms of our capacity to achieve this. The second area really does deal with access. I am struck by David Sasmary's observation. We've been in this space for 10 years, right on the leading edge and very successful. But I think we have an opportunity now to do more. Coursera is a good example of that. We've already launched our first few courses with literally tens of thousands of students on those courses. We're working to create some variation of those courses that are also instructor-led, that have more interaction of a different kind for which we can actually allow UW credit. In the end, what we do in that space is also going to come back, I think, in powerful ways to the work we do here on campus as well. There are lots of ways of thinking about how these courses can themselves be woven in to the more traditional experiences we have and enhance those as well. The second area really of access seems to me to revolve around those people who may, for example, have some degree of college but haven't completed. This state is 48th in the nation in the terms of production of bachelor's degrees, and that's a ranking that one is not quite as proud of as these other rankings. 800,000 people in this state alone, 52 million Americans with some substantial amount of education. We're working now, and again, in close collaboration with the faculty, on seeing whether we could design a course completion initiative that might allow some of these people to re-engage college, but to re-engage it at a UW level with UW quality instruction and content. That would be critical for us going forward. If we can work out all the details, and indeed it's complicated, launching a small pilot program to see whether this makes a difference, and again, to see how we use that in ways that come back to benefit this campus, I think both financially, to be sure, but also in terms of creating more educational content that can be woven in a much more robust way to what we currently do on this campus to enhance the education of the students who are on campus, as well as those who might be off campus. So as I think about one of our main areas that I really think we have an opportunity to think about, it really has to do with reinventing or reimagining or leading the change in public higher education. We have opportunities to do that because we have the foundation and the capacity. I think the need is pressing, and I think we have some real work ahead of us, but some real opportunities. And that, I think, is important. Let me shift gears now and talk kind of about a second area, too, if I may. One of the other things that is clear about this university is how engaged we are in our community. This is a university that has looked at local, statewide, national, global challenges and engaged those. That's been part of our DNA and our fabric as we've thought about what kind of research projects to structure and how to do those and what do they address and what do they solve. That's critical. And in my judgment, we have an opportunity also to do even more in that area as well. And we're peculiarly well situated to do it because so many of the problems, as we understand, and many of the challenges and many of the frontiers of knowledge are places where you need significant multidisciplinary perspectives. You need people who come from a range of different disciplines put together to think about these problems, to think about their solutions, and to figure out how to execute those solutions. So the opportunity for a university, which is the particular repository of that kind of breadth of knowledge, is, in my judgment, really great. Now, again, we're not the neophytes in this regard. A great deal of this has been going on for 150 years. This is really sort of woven into the fabric of this university in many ways. So let me also give a few examples of that, if I may. Please.
Today's world is more connected than ever, and that means the challenges we face, like improving our education system, enhancing people's health worldwide, and protecting our planet, require equally connected, integrative solutions. At the University of Washington, we're taking the discoveries and innovations from our scholars and researchers and bringing them to the broader community, whether that's across the street or across the globe. We call this turning the university inside out. Already, we've made great strides in education, healthcare, energy, and sustainability, and we aim to keep going.
There is no problem more pressing right now in society than the educational attainment of youth in our region and our nation. And our work is centered in high-need schools throughout the region, where we really focus on improving the organizational capacity of schools and really the human capacity of the people who work within schools. So what we're moving to is really a model that situates the training of the next generation of professionals in the places where they're going to work.
At UW-Bothell, the Center on Reinventing Public Education is tackling key public education reform issues by designing pioneering and practical solutions to close the gaps between privileged and disadvantaged U.S. students and U.S. students and their peers in other advanced countries.
So one of the things that we're really excited about at the center is thinking about how the role of technology and innovation can really enliven public schools. So when we think about the public schools that we have today, they look a lot like the public schools we had 100 years ago. And that's not something that's going to work for most kids. We really need to look forward, and we need to think about new ways to allow teachers to maximize their expertise, new ways that parents can engage in schooling, and really interesting new ways to energize students about learning.
Educating future generations also means ensuring they have the opportunity to live long, healthy lives and reach their full potential. The UW's WWAMI Regional Medical Education Program, a 40-plus-year partnership between the UW School of Medicine and the states of Washington, Wyoming, Alaska, Montana, and Idaho, is providing publicly supported medical education for the 5-state region to ensure that physician workforce needs in rural and underserved areas are met now and for years to come. On a more global scale, the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation is providing a foundation for informed decision-making that will make a difference in the health of people around the world today and well into the future.
If you look across the world, we spend 10% of the world economy on healthcare. But it's really hard to know where it's working, where it's reaching people who need it, or where money's not being used efficiently or effectively. And the only way to actually get more out of the money that's spent on healthcare, make people's lives better, is to understand what are people's problems, are they getting better, are they getting worse, and how is what we do influencing their lives. And that's where bringing science to bear, based in a leading world-class university, we can do something that the UN system, the global institutions can't do, which is separate politics from the question of what actually works.
Promoting healthy lives is intricately tied to promoting a healthy planet. From the forests and oceans to the great expanse of outer space, a thriving Earth empowers thriving populations, and vice versa. The UW is part of a team that will conduct a regional smart energy grid demonstration project here on campus, that will help the regional grid improve reliability of the system, determine the cost benefit of the smart technology, and improve our ability to integrate renewable energy sources. Researchers at the Center for Urban Waters at UW-Tacoma are tracking pollutant sources in Puget Sound to develop creative and sustainable solutions to restore and protect urban waterways. Along with all of this research and discovery comes the need to manage a countless amount of digital information. The University of Washington is poised to become a leading institution for machine learning and the analysis of big data. From the land to the sea, UW researchers are diving even further to discover renewable energy sources. Working with Snohomish County PUD, UW researchers are harnessing the power of the oceans by measuring the speed and direction of tidal currents in fast-moving, turbulent Admiralty Inlet to determine their potential for energy generation. The UW is turning the university inside out, empowering future teachers, transforming K-12 and higher education, promoting healthy lives, reimagining what renewable energy and sustainability mean, turning ideas into reality.
That's, I think, just a small sampling of what goes on at the university. I saw this firsthand in a really extraordinary way a few weeks ago. We invited Dean Striticus to bring a third grade class, I think it was third grade, is that right, from Lake Ridge Elementary, which is right on the border of Renton and Skyway. And as you looked at the class, it would not surprise you to believe that a significant percentage of them did not have English as their first language, at least, and certainly a larger percentage of their parents probably didn't have English as their first language. Very, very diverse in every way you could imagine. Brought the kids up on the stage and had a 45-minute math class. It was one of the most extraordinary things I've seen, because not only did they teach them manipulative skills of how to add, subtract, and count and so forth, but the fundamental principles behind it so that they could actually manipulate concepts, not just manipulate numbers. It was really remarkable. And the professors and their students have been in this school in every grade for the last few years, not only developing curricula, but training teachers as well in these kinds of things, and then taking data, coming back, reviewing that, seeing what difference it makes, and adjusting appropriately. It has been tremendous. Every class has seen an improvement in every subject. The fourth grade class alone, I'm told, had a 23% improvement in their math skills, in their math scores in 1 year. And we're not doing it just in Lake Ridge. The College of Education is in 100 schools around the state in 20 different school districts. That's in part what we mean by turning the university inside out. Not in any way departing our core missions, but those core missions mediated through the opportunity to really focus on large issues, important issues, and addressing those in ways that only a multidisciplinary institution like this one can. So we need to do some things, I believe, to try and enhance that. And I'll make a couple of suggestions. Again, these are concrete suggestions of things we're going to do, but we're looking for lots of suggestions that come from everywhere to figure out how to enhance that. The first is to better position ourselves to think about how we're going to secure funding for those. We're increasingly seeing many of the funding agencies looking at large-scale, multidisciplinary, multi-year, multi-institutional grants. And we have, on a temporary basis, been trying to identify ways in which we can support the effort to secure those. We're making those efforts permanent, coordinating across both halves of campus in order to find ways to ensure that we can provide as much support as possible and make our faculty as competitive as possible for those kinds of grants. We already have a number of those, and we have a goal for getting at least 3 more of those over the next couple of years. They come with considerable resources, but that generates real opportunity. The second part of it is, this may sound technical, but believe me, it's important, I think, which is trying to reduce the administrative burden on those who are doing the research in the grants. NIH estimates that faculty spend about 40% of their time administering a grant. It just seems to me we ought to have professors in the laboratory, not sitting in front of an Excel spreadsheet. So how can we provide assistance that reduces that administrative burden? And we have some very clear ideas, and a lot of it's technological solutions, which we hope to be able to implement to try and reduce, at least by 5% in the first year, and over time, considerably larger percentage of that administrative burden that falls on faculty. But again, two concrete ideas from which we hope you will bring to us a lot more and a lot of other ideas as well, of ways in which we can do this, because we are really the only institution of its kind that can do this, and it is what provides not only extraordinary research opportunities, but also extraordinary teaching opportunities of the sort that only a great research university can provide. Now let me turn to a slightly different variation of that same thing, which again is turning the university inside out. And that really has to do with the process of thinking about how we take what goes on in the university and get it out into the outside world so it really does make a difference. In that regard, we have had some considerable success in the commercialization area. Over the past few decades, we've commercialized 250 companies out of university technology and ideas. But our belief is we can and must do more in that regard as well, and we've made some very concrete steps in that regard. We inaugurated, as was mentioned in one of the videos, Fluke Hall as incubator space, where people can come and test out their ideas and work in a much more deeply interactive way with the faculty on the research front to move these out into the stream of commerce. Secondly, we have created an Entrepreneur in Residence program where we're bringing in successful serial entrepreneurs to help mentor, guide those who would try to do this. Thirdly, we are have created presidential entrepreneur fellows who are faculty who have done this, who again may be able to mentor others who are interested in doing this and do this kind of work. And it was also mentioned we're participating in the W Fund, which is the largest university identified and affiliated venture fund in the country, capped at about $25 million, which is designed to put money at strategic points in the commercialization process to ensure that value added is created and it stays connected to the university and hopefully in the state as well. One consequence of this course, and this is what's often talked about outside the university, is that this has some economic benefit. Modest to the university, extraordinary to the state in many ways. We had a study done a few years ago looking at the overall economic impact of the university, and it was pretty startling. It was $9 billion of economic activity on an annual basis generated by this university. $9 billion. We're the third largest employer of the state, responsible for 70,000 jobs directly or indirectly. For every dollar the state puts in, they get a $22 return in terms of economic activity. That's about twice the national average for major research universities. Usually it's about $10 of activity for every dollar. So we not only do a lot of it, we do it well. The interesting statistic to me was for every state dollar, every tax dollar put into the university, we generate economic activity that produces $1.50 in tax revenues. Now, if I could just get the legislature to let us keep that, we would be in good shape. So there will be economic impact, to be sure, but the reasons are really fundamentally different and more important. There are really two that I think are really powerful. One is, this is the way in which we do good. When we think about why people come to the university, it's in part to address great problems with ideas that they have developed that they think are going to really make a difference. How do we make those make a difference? How do we get them out into the real world where they affect people in a positive way? As some of you have heard me say in the past, if we cure cancer but it remains in a test tube, it's interesting cocktail party conversation, but nobody gets better. How do we get it out into hospitals, in doctors' hands, into people's bodies? And the commercialization process can be very powerful to do that. That's a process whereby we take what goes on here, take it out to make lives better. Secondly, it provides extraordinary educational opportunities. Already we're doing this, and we need to ramp this up in my judgment, but we are providing opportunities for our students in business, in engineering, in medicine, in pharmacy, in law, in the sciences, even in the arts, to participate in these processes and gain real-world experience not only in the laboratory, where the students do pretty extraordinary things. As I sort of mentioned earlier, we have 6,000 students, undergraduates, who have done significant amounts of research over the past year, 10 hours or more a week, 1 million hours of research. That's really powerful. Allowing that to expand, as well as more opportunities to, in a very practical way, try to take this, interact with the business community, and see what one can do to really make a difference with these things that are developed in the laboratories, in the libraries, in the offices of everyone here at the university. So those are things that, in a concrete way, as we think about turning the university inside out, that we are doing and that we need to do and can do more of. But again, we're also looking for suggestions and ways in which everyone can help us identify opportunities to do that, help us work to generate the resources to make this possible, help design these kinds of projects and ideas, because they are powerful in terms of our capacity to address great problems, but they're also powerful in terms of our educational and research processes. So those are the kinds of things that we're thinking about. So let me end with just a little tiny recap of some of the things I've talked about. I think number one, in terms of thinking about tomorrow's university today, we're trying to create the university of the future, but we're trying to do it right now. One is to basically look at how we lead the change in public higher education. That certainly has a technological dimension in terms of thinking about how we use technology to enhance and deepen the educational processes, and how we use that technology to expand access in a significant way, and particularly do it in a way that then also has a sort of a virtuous feedback loop to come back and improve the education even here on campus. And I don't mean this to the exclusion of other kinds of education. What this does in many ways, in my judgment, is also positions us to have the most powerful kind of educational experience, which really is the one-on-one interactive kind of experience between student to student, professor to student, and so on. And we're doing a lot of that. You mentioned in the video that we have new dorms that have come online. That's turned out to be actually very significant. And it's significant because as we see the statistical barometers of our students improve more and more, we see also people who very much want to live on campus or nearby. And right now, about 90% of our students on the Seattle campus live either in the residence halls. I'm instructed we cannot call them dorms anymore. And if you toured them, you'd know why you can't call them dorms anymore. These kids will never live in anything that nice till they're 40 again. Between the residence halls and the Greeks, about 90% plus of our kids are now living on or next to campus. That's very exciting. It allows us to engage in a way that I think has been harder to do in the past, and we're doing some interesting things. You'll notice they're launching a leadership initiative, and I say they because this is not a top-down initiative. This is something that students and staff and faculty have been working on for some time. And next Thursday, I think we're launching You Lead, you being not you, but you, Lead, We Lead, which is going to start what we hope to be a year-long conversation about leadership and the development of leadership skills and the use of those skills and the ethics underlying those across the entire range of campus. We're also starting freshman collegium seminars, which have already started, actually, which are small seminars. We'd like to give every freshman an intense, smaller class experience. Some of our best teachers are undertaking these in really great ways. Sean Wong is teaching a class on how to write a novel in 30 years. It's great. And some of us administrators hope to kind of retread ourselves and get back in on. Amari and I are both going to teach these as well. So what all of this does in terms of thinking about leading this change in public higher education is the use of technology, to be sure, but with a monomaniacal focus on what our core values are and what really works in terms of educational outcomes. And that, of course, is, for us, a unique opportunity because we not only have the capacity for sort of normal classroom experiences of lectures and whatever else, but because of our research mission, because of our capacity to think through how technology can transform and And because of the nature of the things we research and study, we can do things that only a major research university can do, and we need to do that. So rethinking how this goes and rethinking how we expand access become, I think, very important missions. I also think we need, as I say, to turn the university inside out. We provide a whole range of services already, some of which are really very much in the nature of services. The medical care facilities actually are the largest healthcare provider in the 4-county area. We just cut the ribbon on UW's Montlake Tower building, which will house a neonatal intensive care unit as well as radiology and oncology. And for those of you like me who have had cancer in one's immediate family or premature children, you know how critical it is to have that kind of service available to you in that way at that time with those kinds of problems. And so we do that and do that gloriously. But we also address great challenges and great problems. And the more we can sort of organize ourselves to do it and think about how to do that, that gets woven into the fabric of our research and our teaching, I think we will have real opportunities of a kind that build on the extraordinary opportunities that we have had and provided here at the university for 150 years. And so I end where I started, which is that this is a very collaborative endeavor. A lot of this comes out of things that I see us doing extraordinarily well, which create real opportunities to do even more. Much of this comes, all of this comes really from listening and walking the halls, and we will do it together. We will do it together. That I am convinced of. It's not a radical departure, I think. There are those who stand up and think, we have to take complete left turns with higher education. I think that may be true at a number of institutions, but that's nonsense for this institution. We need to build on what our core strengths are, which are truly extraordinary, and we will do it together. And it gives me great confidence. We'll make false starts, and we'll hit some dead ends, as all great work does. If we don't take some risks, we won't be doing our job. But we will succeed, and we will succeed gloriously, I think, in a way that this university has for so many years. So thank you very much for being with us. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.